Automotive Trends. I'm Executive Editor Brandon Dye with Senior Editor Jason Muxlow and our Design Editor Eric Grenand at the 2011 North American International Auto Show. We thought this morning, after a very busy first day, we'd just get together to talk a little bit about what we saw yesterday, some of our favorites and some of our most significant debuts yesterday. So I guess let's get started. What do you guys think was the biggest surprise yesterday?
I'd have to go with the Hyundai Veloster. I don't think we were quite expecting that to be quite the car it was. I think we were all kind of expecting maybe a little bit of a concept thing yet. Maybe I was honestly expecting it to be more of like a high-riding crossover-ish three-door sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, what was your thoughts?
Well, I didn't know what it was going to be because I'd seen spy photos that made it look as if it was a two-door or a three-door hatchback, and another one that was a five-door hatchback, so didn't know whether or not we were going to see a couple of vehicles or a single vehicle, and it turned out it was a single vehicle. It has two doors on one side and one on the other and a hatch in the back, so a little bit surprising there. An unconventional approach, especially after Saturn kind of left us with some fairly unattractive three-door coupes a few years back.
Yeah.
So
this is better than any Saturn I've seen. But actually, we'll keep our eye on that one. That's a vehicle that if they bring in at an attractive price point, I mean, I hope that would start around 17,000, 18,000, maybe even less knowing Hyundai. So we'll see. But it's a lot of content. It has Hyundai's new Blue Link technology integration with your smartphone, and the target audience they're going at there, the young market who want a little bit of performance. It's a light vehicle. We were surprised to find that. Actually, that was the most surprising stat I heard all day. The vehicle actually weighs less than a Mini Cooper, so we're pretty much ensured a good lightweight, responsive coupe drive there. So we'll see if Hyundai's first dual clutch transmission is as good as they're promising, and we're looking forward to getting to drive that one late this year. So. What about concepts? There weren't a lot, the times are a little more, you have to be a little smarter with your money, so these outlandish concepts we don't see much anymore. But we saw a couple yesterday. What were some of your favorites?
Well, I think ironically or surprisingly for me, I actually was fairly intrigued by the Kia KB7, which they were very...
That's not surprising.
Well, that's very surprising. But it was interesting because they were very clear that this was not a minivan, because they said, everybody's trying to make the minivan cooler, hipper, faster,
angrier faces.
Yeah, angry faces. I'm surprised they didn't say something about a swagger wagon or anything there, but we all knew what they were talking about, and it was a little bit surprising. It looked like Kia had actually used the late 60s, early 70s Volkswagen microbus with the bay window windshield as kind of their inspiration. There were some, you could see it in the front window, you could see it in maybe the driver's compartment or the front row. So it was a little bit different, and kind of an interesting take on something that is very tired and worn out. So
there hasn't been a whole lot of activity outside of the minivan realm or the minivan realm for quite some time. When was it that the VW microbus actually departed us for the last time?
Well, it depends on if you're talking Eurovan or Vanagon.
Yeah, or Vanagon, right, exactly, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's been a few years since the Eurovan, and the Vanagon's been gone since the 80s, I believe, so, yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting take on something that, we weren't expecting any automakers really to kind of go after these days, so we'll see if anything becomes of that. I don't know. I mean,
they really kept on strong. They kept on saying you've seen our track record that when we do a concept, we do a production vehicle close to it. I don't know how much I agree with that statement, but they definitely were saying it, implying, or I thought they were implying that look for something along these lines in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and as far as significance and what we'll see in the future, I thought Ford had a good concept, a very mildly hinted concept version of the next Ford Escape, and probably even the Ford Europe Kuga version. So I think we're headed, as Ford has been, to one singular vehicle worldwide. But that was a good-looking concept, really, and I think will translate very well to production.
I think so. I mean, you can clearly see the elements that weren't intended for production. The tiny mirrors, the windshield wrapping straight up into the roof, full-length glass all the way back.
We fully expect Ford to fit these with the EcoBoost engines, though, in production.
Absolutely.
It's a great lineup of engine. They keep getting smaller, but more powerful at the same time. So something like that comes out with strong horsepower numbers and priced right like Ford has been lately, and that's going to be a winning vehicle as gas creeps back up. So I thought that one was fairly significant.
Well, then it's based off of their C-segment cars, so they're getting some platform sharing out of it, even though it is a very unique vehicle of its own.
What about production cars that we haven't seen? Maybe they've been introduced over the auto show season this past year, but now here in Detroit, we've seen them out on the floor. We've been able to poke around. Anything that surprised you, or?
I felt the Verano was
the Buick Verano.
The Buick Verano held itself a little bit better in person than it did in some of the early pictures. Anyways, the proportions seem to be a little bit more on, or it just seems more acceptable.
More attractive.
Yeah, it's very more.
Yeah.
It's a lot more attractive.
Yeah, the good news is Buick's kind of established design language now is working at all sizes. I mean, from the LaCrosse, obviously the most stylish, probably the LaCrosse, the Enclave, but even the Buick front end that we've come to know now, it looks really good on that car, and that car is not really that small. Don't get the wrong impression.
Well,
it's not a subcompact or anything. We're within 2 inches of the Regal, which is a completely comfortable, comfortably sized car. So
what was a surprise out of that is it's going to have not only is the base engine the 2.4 liter, available with a 6-speed manual transmission, but then there's also going to be a 2-liter turbo available with a 6-speed manual transmission. So both of those were very exciting and definitely lends itself the possibilities of being a true driver's car as well as a comfortable Buick.
Yeah, when the Buick offered the manual transmission in the Regal, it almost seemed like, well, somebody's made a mistake and forgotten to say, oh no, North America doesn't get that. But for Buick to offer now in 2 cars, definitely is a strategy, definitely is a trend. It's one that we very much like, and it seems that Buick is very well aware of the type of buyers that go after an Audi or an entry-level BMW, and
even the Acura TSX, which is a pretty strong competitor to that, is available with a great 6-speed transmission, manual transmission. And
but even so, thinking along that line of thought, the Audis are kind of departing away from the manual transmissions and going more towards the dual clutch. So I think it's possible Buick could be kind of anticipating either buyers seeking out the manual still, or picking up some of the what Audi has left behind in offering these sorts of things.
Right. I was genuinely surprised that they are offering that right out of the block before even really seeing what the take rate is on the Regal and if that is received successfully or not. But we got to wait a little while to see that one. I don't think that actually goes on sale until late this year.
I believe
fourth quarter this year, and the manual and the 2.0T to follow, I think, early next year, they said. So we'll have to wait a little while to see if that one does what it should for us as a small Buick. But if they price that right, which leaked pricing kind of indicates 20 to 25 to 26, somewhere in there. And there's a lot of content in that car for that money. So we'll see. If Buick keeps increasing its brand image, then that could be perceived as a really good value. So,
absolutely.
Let's see. What about?
I was thinking, our car and truck of the year awards.
That's true. Yeah, we might as well go on record as the car of the year. Nobody's surprised.
No,
really. Chevrolet Volt. They rewarded them for being first to market with that new technology, so it didn't really surprise anyone there. We were a little more split on the SUV side. Ended up being the new Ford Explorer. So,
which Di and I had guessed,
and I didn't want to guess because I wanted it to be the Durango, but there was no
which would have been a fine vehicle.
Oh yeah, all 3 choices really could have been winners. Very easily in my book.
Yeah, there weren't going to be any upsets this year. No repeat of the Ford Transit Connect. So,
Toyota made quite a lot of news yesterday, expanding the Prius family from the current one vehicle. We're going to see a plug-in hybrid version early next year. up to 13 miles on a full charge, and then we're going to see the Prius is getting bigger. Apparently, customers are asking for more room. Families are growing. Whatever the exterior dimensions don't get a lot bigger, but the interior is a full 50% more interior volume than today's Prius. So it's called the Prius V for versatility. And if you like the Prius, it's basically a bigger version of that shape. So nothing groundbreaking.
It makes sense because your early Prius buyers grow, mature. There's going to be families. They're going to have kids. I think it's a really good move for Toyota to expand the family lineup, even though they may not be the most dynamically pleasing cars on the road. It's certainly expanding that powertrain into a bigger, more versatile vehicle can only mean good things for Toyota.
And they are actually, that's a production version. That's going to be on sale later this summer.
True.
But Toyota also showed a concept version, but very strongly suggested that is going to come to production sometime, I believe, next year. And if the Prius V is the larger Prius, the Prius C is the smaller Prius for single urbanites. I think all their press lingo goes on. But that would be, they're anticipating when that comes to market, the production version would be the highest rated fuel economy for a plugless hybrid. And we've got to start to differentiate nowadays because we have vehicles like the Volt, the plug-in hybrid. There will be multiple classes of hybrids, but for the plugless hybrids, Toyota's expecting that to earn the highest fuel economy of any car on the market. So we'll see what becomes of that, but I wouldn't be surprised to find even more Prius derivatives. I wouldn't even really be surprised one day that Prius becomes
a brand in itself,
which I think they're very rapidly moving towards, and it's probably a smart idea. Almost 1 million Priuses sold in 10 years. You can't argue with those numbers, and going after different vehicle architectures and offering to different customers' needs is only going to increase those numbers for Toyota.
All right, so let's move on to let's see what our small cars. Chevrolet gave us the Sonic at the end of the day yesterday.
That's a replacement for the Aveo.
The Aveo, yes, which some of us are not sad to see go, but he is.
We're divided on that.
That would be an hour-long.
Yeah, we don't need to debate that.
But the bottom line is, I think the Sonic is going to be 15 times the car that the Aveo ever was. We had a chance just to look around the interior. It's vastly improved materials. Build quality is much better. We're going to get the hatchback version
and the sedan.
And the sedan version.
Off the sedan.
Both of which look pretty good, actually.
I thought the sedan proportions were much better than any of the Aveos, or the Geo Metro before that.
A lot less cartoonish.
Exactly. It looks like a real car.
Sedans are not well proportioned when they're on that short wheelbase.
But this one works surprisingly well. So that could do very well.
One other thing that I found interesting that Chevrolet really pointed out that on their top line models for the Sonic, they're going to offer automatic and manual transmissions. They pointed out how uncommon that is in that segment when you start to dress those up. You end up just saying, oh well, we throw in the automatic for free, or as part of the not for free, but as part of the base price. And so this is very interesting. General Motors is really putting an emphasis back on manual transmissions, and I think that's something that all of us enthusiasts are excited to hear about. So I think it's a step in the right direction.
I wonder if that's kind of what they're going after. They're going after a little bit more life and excitement in some of their overall customer base.
Well,
the
Aveo has always been offered with manual, so
well, absolutely.
We're not too.
But like even in their conference yesterday, it was very youth oriented. They had the kids up there dancing and playing their iPods and making all sorts of music beforehand. And it wasn't targeted towards some of your Aveo, typical Aveo buyers of past, where
so all I want is the $99 a month down payment.
Exactly, that sort of thing.